That sounds like an incredibly hard business to start. Like you didn't pick an easy one, did you?
No. Well, it's sort of like evolved over time because originally I was doing just custom motorcycle work for people, and I've always had an interest in electric vehicles.
A massive thank you to EMP Motorcycles here at 6 Gaston Street for sponsoring the episode of the 10 Million in 10 Years podcast, authorised dealer of Honda and Ducati motorcycles. Before we get into the episode, I just want to say a big thank you to Tom Hardy for supporting this episode.
Thanks, Dave. I absolutely love what you're doing, and thank you for having me be a part of it.
Tell us a bit about this new sign.
Mate, it's all about the people. I've loved making the move and getting great results for our clients.
Wicked. Let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to the 10 Million in 10 Years podcast. I'm David, your host, and I've got Charlie with me from EMP Motorcycles.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Great to be here. Thanks, David.
Tell us about your business. I was introduced to you by a shared connection, and we caught up last week, I think it was, or the week before, and you'd be best to explain in your own words what you're up to and who you are.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
Yeah, cheers. No, absolutely. So EMP Motorcycles is a company that's developing electric motorcycles that are customizable from factory and easily repairable. So when you order your motorcycle, you select it on the website with our configuration tool. You can select from a whole bunch of different parts to make the bike exactly how you want it to be unique to you. You can configure your bike anywhere from a fully fed sports bike or a naked bike or anywhere in between. And you can make it fit you ergonomically as well. So if you're 4 foot tall or 7 foot tall, you can select parts to suit you and select different features, functions, sort of trying to empower people to be able to take control of their transportation, because we're also supporters of the right to repair. So all parts will be available for purchase at any time on the website. And in terms of the size of the bikes, they're sort of high-end learner approved, so grunty enough that you're not going to get bored of it being electric, but there's options to program it to turn it down to make it a bit more approachable for a learner rider. So yeah, that's sort of a basic description of the company and the product offering.
Yeah, right. Wow, amazing. That sounds like an incredibly hard business to start. Like you didn't pick an easy one, did you?
No. Well, it's sort of like evolved over time because originally I was doing just custom motorcycle work for people, and I've always had an interest in electric vehicles. And one of my friends who is a mechanical engineer, so I'm an electrical engineer by trade. He's a mechanical engineer, and he's got a steel glass windows and doors business. And I was doing some work for him on his bikes, and we're having a barbecue one day, and we'd had a couple of beers, and he said, "Oh, why don't you just start a company and just do custom bikes? There'll be a huge market for it." And that sort of lit something underneath me, because I'd always had that entrepreneurial spirit, and I've always been figuring out ways to make money, and I sort of went, yeah, why don't I start a company? And this was like 2020 or so. It was ages ago. I started doing some custom work for people, so doing custom race bike builds, cafe races, engine builds, wiring harnesses, and I sort of thought, well, why don't I do electric motorcycles on commission? But it turns out there wasn't really a market for that. That's evolved through some consideration of what the market wants, bringing on a business advisor, joining network groups, sort of all those people and connections and experiences has transformed the business idea into what it is today. Yes, it's very hard. But as I say, I wouldn't be here without everyone's help along the way.
Yeah, amazing. What is there globally? Is there anything comparable?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, so from a electric motorcycle perspective, but
more from the whole package. Like, is anyone doing customizable, configurable electric motorcycles?
No.
Or no? Okay.
No. So there are market offerings, electric motorcycles, but they tend to be either quite small and not that great quality, or they're $60,000 like super bikes.
Got it. Yeah.
And none of them really have that customizable aspect to them either, and the right to repair. So there's sort of a bit of a gap in the market here, and motorcyclists are quite handy generally. People like to tinker, work on their own stuff, customize their own stuff, which adds to the appeal of our bike, where you can customize it. You don't actually need like a huge workshop or anything to make something that's unique to you.
Very cool. What's that term, right to repair? I haven't heard that before.
Oh, right to repair.
Yeah.
So it's a term that's been popularized recently in the tech space, specifically over in, say, America, where people believe that if you have bought something, say a phone or a watch or a computer, if it breaks, you should be able to get it repaired or repair it yourself. Because we're sort of turning into a throwaway economy where you might buy, say, a microwave, and your microwave, instead of lasting 10 or 15 years or 20 years like they used to, it might break in 5 years. And you as a consumer should be able to fix your microwave or your phone or anything. So you have a right to repair your kit. It's a movement that's gaining momentum around the world, and the more people I sort of talk to about it and bring to their attention, they go, yeah, absolutely, I want to be able to fix my stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's I mean, there's so many arguments for repairing, right, over replacement. You know, just thinking about the dishwasher we had here at the loft recently that broke down, and it's pretty shocking how we've become so attuned to replacement or just throwing away and buying another one, right?
Yep.
Dishwasher is a large item.
It is.
That does not belong in the landfill, right?
No.
And so fortunately we're able to get it fixed for a cost-effective amount. But, you know, it's just, it's an interesting one, isn't it? How society's sort of led down this path of low-cost, cost-prohibitive fixes. So I'm happy to hear that this is gaining momentum.
Fisher and Paykel do it right.
Yeah, it was a Fisher and Paykel.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
it's quite easy to buy parts. They've got good manuals, good parts catalogs, and availability of parts. So,
and I guess also maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are there products designed to be fixed versus say something like Apple where it's not really?
Great question. Yeah. So as an engineer, I tend to design things to enable them to be maintained or fixed.
Got it.
It's not hard to design in maintainability to a design, and equally it's not hard to design in lack of maintainability. It all depends on what your goals are as a designer at the front end of a design.
Right. And so would it be fair to say that companies that are building in no repairability are doing it because you upgrade? Or you'll need to upgrade, sorry.
I would speculatively say yes.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what goes on in the boardrooms and the business strategies of those larger companies, but it makes sense to me that if you wanted people to buy the next iPhone, maybe we shouldn't make the old ones repairable, because then people will fix them instead of getting the new one.
Yeah, interesting, right? Yeah. I don't want to go ahead and throw any brands under the bus, but that is an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah, I guess it just speaks to a buyer behavior as well, right? Of consuming perhaps quality over lower cost, you know, like buying quality that will last longer versus a cheaper option that will likely not last as long.
What can we do about it?
Well, I think that very thing, right? Like buy quality over... you know, spend a bit more on the front end that will likely have a longer lifespan. Like these mics are a good example, you know.
Yeah.
They're relatively good quality and they probably will last far beyond they wear out.
Yeah.
Just had another dishwasher. You'd think I got a thing with dishwashers, but the one at home
I too have a dishwasher story. So
yeah, well I guess, you know, water, electricity, moving parts, you know, daily use. You know, that can be a recipe for disaster. Yeah. What's your story? Dishwasher story, that is.
Well, I've got two dishwasher stories. If you'll indulge me.
Oh, absolutely.
One is my dad is an engineer as well. And,
Electrical?
More telecommunications.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's in my blood. My granddad and granddad's granddad is. Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's always fixing his dishwashers too. It'll be, I'll get a message saying, oh yeah, the door switch broke again. That one lasted 2 years that time or something.
Yeah.
And myself, I've recently had to fix my dishwasher a couple of times. Again, the first one was the starting capacitor on the drain pump.
Right.
That was difficult to diagnose. And the second one was the door switch. So something that gets cycled quite often, and the old one had just burnt out. But luckily the design was such that they just used what I call a jelly bean part. So it's a part that you can buy off the shelf. I think it cost me $5. I didn't even buy one that was, say, Fisher & Paykel branded. I went to JCar.
Yeah.
I bought a suitable micro switch, installed it, and that fixed it.
Wow.
So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I had a guy on here recently on the podcast who is in the business of industrial repairs, so industrial electronic repairs.
Yep.
And we were just talking about the economics of, fixing versus repair versus throwaway, right? And obviously at a certain point, a certain type of value product, of course it's going to make sense to repair. But yeah, okay. All right. So back to the motorcycles though.
Yeah.
How do you restrict them, or how is whoever monitors the Lunar approved bikes, is that LTSA or?
Yeah, it's LTSA.
Yeah. So how do they do they have parameters set up for electrical bikes? Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's based on a power to weight ratio.
Oh yeah.
So it's 150 kilowatts per ton, including 90 kilos for the rider and gear.
Right.
So
okay, sweet.
As a designer, it's quite easy to design to that parameter.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that you can program the bike, say via your smartphone, connect to it with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and you can dial in the amount of power you want, the response of the throttle. But there's a hard cap in the software that doesn't allow it to go past that 150 kilowatts per ton, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. And when are we going to see the first working prototype?
Great question. So it's in development at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm working on it in my workshop, and it should be finished by the end of the year.
Wow. Amazing.
Yep.
So if we continue this tradition, which I've got with certain guests, I like to do the anniversary edition of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So if we're sitting here in late June 2025, there's going to be a working prototype.
Oh, yeah.
Is there going to be there'll be sales by then? Potentially.
Yeah,
likely,
so
hopefully.
Yeah. The first round of sales is going to be a founders edition.
Oh yeah.
So we'll probably do say 10 bikes, just low numbers, get some pre-orders, get those bikes manufactured, sold on the roads, get a bit of attention.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Bit like the Cybertruck.
Better than the Cybertruck.
No, but just how they did they did a founders edition as well.
Yeah, true.
Or something. What do they call it? So maybe a different word, but essentially an initial batch that was slightly different.
Yeah. Well, it's not only does it sort of keep interest while being achievable from my perspective, it also allows us to fail fast. So if I did 100 bike production runs straight up, if something was a bit off with the market offering or with the design of the bikes, doing 100 or something, it's kind of a bit harder to pull it back as opposed to 10. They're going to be more handmade as well on that low number. So
yeah. And do you have a rough price point in mind for those initial 10?
Yeah, it'll be. I don't want to pigeonhole myself.
No, just a range though.
Yeah, like approximately 30K.
Right, got it. Okay, amazing.
Yeah. So
how exciting.
Yeah. Cheers.
This is good. This is real good.
Yeah. It's awesome. I've put so much time and money and effort into it, and
no doubt.
It's been really hard as well.
I bet. Yeah. Yeah. And so you've been doing it out of hours, outside of normal business hours.
Correct.
Spare time, side hustle kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I still have a day job full time.
Yeah.
So it's been. I recently was inspired by my friend Ryan. So I had a bit of a chat with him, and he made me realise that we've all got the same number of hours in the day. And say for myself, I have a day job Monday to Friday. So Monday to Friday, I have 4 hours each day that I can dedicate to one of 3 buckets. One is excelling at my day job, so doing extracurricular activities to get better at my day job, say reading or listening to podcasts, that sort of thing. One is developing personal relationships, and the third one is working hard on the business. So 4 hours Monday to Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, I have 12 hours each day. So that's quite a bit of time.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an obsession of mine, is this whole management of time. Like the way I break it down is 16 hours after sleeping for 8, hopefully.
Yeah.
And if you do segment that into, roughly 8 hours in a job and roughly 8 hours of surplus, what do you do with that? And even chunking it down further, right? Like chunking it down into 2-hour blocks. That's one thing I've done recently.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get my head around it, 16 hours sounds like quite a unfathomable amount.
Yeah, it's a sort of an esoteric number.
A little bit, right? It's not really relevant. Like there's not many things that you would do for 16 hours straight. So therefore, like 2-hour chunks, it's like 2 hours just seems to be a number that's quite relatable. An hour is not often enough, but 1.5, 2 hours, that makes sense. Yeah.
I find that with myself, my focus tends to work in 2-hour chunks as well.
Yeah.
So when I'm working, I tend to say start at 7, and I'll have a break at about 10 o'clock, and then lunch at 12, another break at 2:30. That sort of breaks my day up such that I don't end up spinning my wheels trying to over focus when my body's really telling me, hey, you need to just chill out for a bit.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yes.
Really important.
That's a really good point as well. Like yesterday, I was in here. I'd been in here all day at the office, and I just felt the need for some fresh air and like movement. And so I went for a walk. Went to IHF and just had a quick coffee, and it was so positive having like a break, like having, it's just contrary to popular belief, right? Of just like the grind, like just forcing yourself to work crazy hours.
Have you heard of Simon Sinek's concept of the infinite game versus the finite game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Because life's an infinite game.
It is.
It's a marathon, right?
It totally is, yeah.
And you got to take breaks. You got to give yourself a bit of fresh air and then go again, push hard.
Yeah, and I think it allows for spontaneity to occur as well. Like
yeah.
And this sort of stems back to that chat we were having before hitting record about productivity and busy versus productive, and like what is productive? Like what are you measuring that on? Yeah. What are the tangible data that you can assign to that? And it's different, of course, based on what you're doing, but it's a good question, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it really makes one think about being mindful about where we're putting our time and how we're feeling, what we should be doing.
Especially if you've got a project or a thing that you're working on, like yourself, like you've given yourself until the end of the year, which is roughly 6 months away. How do you segment that time into milestones so it's not just you've got the end goal in mind, which I think is really important. I think that's great. But how do you go about ensuring that you're going to get there, but B, do it in the most effective way possible?
Yep. That's a fantastic question, David. That's something I'm still working on.
As we all are, right?
Yeah.
And I think anyone that makes anyone believe that they've got it nailed,
no,
I'd call them a liar.
Agree. Yeah, my time management is a constant battle.
Totally.
Because I always have ideas and things I want to do, and why don't I do this? And then someone will ask me a question, and then I'll go help them with something, and then go, oh man, I really should have been working on this other thing. I always underestimate how long it takes me to do stuff as well. And sometimes I find it hard to see what step 4 or 5 might be because I'm only on step 1 or 2. So I find that the long-term goal of, say, get the bike done by the end of the year, finished, ready to show off, it not only lights a fire under me to hurry up and get going, but it's sort of... Yeah, I probably do need to put more definition into exactly how that breakdown, or like what that breakdown looks like. Yeah, because
I guess if you can chunk away at it in certain relatable terms, so like if it's, I don't know how to build an electric motorcycle personally, but I can imagine that you've got rough like waypoints along the journey, right? Like maybe you've broken it down into certain physical parts.
Yeah, done all that on a timeline. Yeah. But the key thing is that there's so many unknowns with designing and building something like this. Like I just welded up the battery box. It took me like probably 50% longer than I anticipated.
Right.
It just did. Like making everything from scratch by hand. I've got a wee bit of fabrication experience now, but I'm just
winging it.
Just winging it. Having a great time.
So good. Yeah, that's awesome. What made you choose the end of the year for that? Was that a stretch goal, or was that like pretty conservative, or how do you feel about that?
I think that's a stretch goal.
Yeah.
Because part of that is all the body work and everything. And I've only ever done like carbon fiberglass work a couple of times. And a lot of it's just time and prep and sanding. Like I've recently been learning more about spray painting. So proper 2-pack automotive spray painting. And a motorcycle that I'm painting at the moment is practice. I've probably got like 100 hours into it, and it takes so long.
Right.
So I'd say knowing that I have to do that, plus all the body work and making the plugs and the molds and all that, as well as the fabrication, as well as the electrical build. The design itself is done. The conceptual work, the electrical design, what it's all going to look like and everything, that's all done. I just need to build it. It's just a case of time.
Right. Yeah. Do you find much difference between, say, like if you're working on a weeknight or a weekday when you've got a limited amount of time versus, say, the weekend where it's a bit more open-ended?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Meaning like the weekend's a lot more productive because you've got like momentum and flow state going on, or the opposite?
I find I'll relate this to flexible working hours. Over my career, I've worked a couple of different working arrangements. So one of them was 9-hour days and 9-day weeks, so every second Friday off. Another one was 32-hour weeks, 4 days. Another one was 10-hour days, 4 days a week, with every Friday off. And I found that when I had a small amount of time that was quite conceivable, like we talked about earlier, 2 hours, that's very conceivable. But an entire day, 12 hours say, or 16 hours, it's kind of hard to imagine that. I found that the extra hour that I gained from each day that added up into a full day, so that Friday, I was actually more productive in those 1 hour sprints each day than I was on an entire Friday. Strictly productivity we're talking here.
Yeah.
Because on the Friday, I have an entire day. It's 12 hours, say. That's kind of hard to conceptualize. And unless you're really diligent with planning out how you're going to use those hours, like one might do if you've got a deadline approaching. I found that the 1 hour sprints, my default was I was more productive.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can relate to that. It's a bit like I do a weekly newsletter, and I give myself 45 minutes to an hour, and so it's like the hard cutoff. Not that I just bail on it if it wasn't done, but it's sort of what I've got in my head.
Yep.
And by not allowing any more time, it fits in that window, right? It's like it's got to happen.
Yeah.
There's no bleed. I've also found that batching tasks has really been helpful.
Yeah.
So like doing all coaching sessions and batching all in like back to back, and then same with podcasts, same with like admin, same with like networking, just trying my best anyway to batch.
Related to something that we talked about last time we met, we were talking about batching and how you said that you record some podcasts back to back, or you might have meetings back to back. And I said, oh wow, how do you not like just fizzle out and get really tired? And you said something to the tune of, oh no, it invigorates me. And I was having a think about that, and I have this magic device on my wrist, Garmin sports watch, and it shows me heaps of information about my body. It's like a scan tool that's plugged in, and one of the parameters it shows me is stress. And before I got this watch, I thought stress was being anxious about something or feeling a lot of pressure, and it's sort of a negative feeling. But I've come to realize that when I'm experiencing those emotions, the stress parameter is quite high. But also when I'm highly engaged in doing stuff, say this conversation we're having here, I'm highly engaged, or if I was presenting, or if I was deep in some design at work, that's a high stress state, and it shows on the watch. So for me, being highly engaged, although I really enjoy it, it's a stress on my body. Someone like yourself, that might be a low stress state.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I push hard, and I do sort of, say a 2-hour block, and then I need a break.
Yeah.
Because it just depends how the body reacts to different stimuli and situations.
Totally. And it's a good reminder that if you're doing something that you're engaged with and it's positive stress, it's still stress, right? Like it's still fatiguing. And so offsetting that with recharge time and making sure that you don't overdo it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh man, it's positive stress versus negative stress. Well, like stress is how we get things done, right? It can be a good thing. I think relating back to what we were talking about, the 1 hour sprint versus the entire day, for the 1 hour sprint, there's a bit of positive stress there because it's, I better make the most of this.
Yes.
Versus a day or 12 hours feels like, I've got a bit of time, I'll make a coffee.
Totally.
There's less inherent stress involved.
Yes.
And stress produces high performance.
Yeah.
So, I wonder how I invoke that stress response over the course of an entire day. I mean, to be fair, I perform highly at a day job. I work hard the whole day, probably because I'm accountable to others. I'm in an environment of exceptional work, versus I go home to my workshop and it's just me or maybe a mate working on stuff, bit more relaxed environment. Yeah, you're giving me some food for thought here, mate.
I think the environment is a really key component to this. I was just chatting with someone before about working in here in the co-working space versus working at home, and just how, everyone's different, but for me anyway, I need this kind of an environment. Not that I'm someone that gets distracted at home, but I just like the feeling of people around me being productive and doing stuff, and just that collective energy, which is pretty hard to quantify. And for a really analytical thinker like an engineer, that may be something that's do you find that hard to comprehend? Or no, you love it.
I love it.
But you can see how some analytical thinkers would be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Where's the data on this, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's contagious.
I think so.
And you think about humans, we're social creatures, right?
Yes.
If everyone around us is doing a similar thing, then innately we want to be doing the thing as well to fit in with the tribe.
Agreed.
So could be that.
Yeah, I guess you got this continuum, right? Like you've got logical, data analytical thinkers down the end of the spectrum. Then you've got energy and crystals and witchcraft down the end. And I think like there's a continuum there. I think there's some people that are, super down one end and then super down the other. Probably somewhere in the middle, maybe closer toward the witchcraft than the data, because I believe that energy and the way we feel in the collective environment, I think that plays a really big role for me.
Yeah. Or what people call these days the vibe.
The vibe, yeah.
Yeah,
the
man.
vibe is, I don't know, like I don't think you can argue with it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff that we say our analytical brains can't understand or pick up, either through like subconscious, like subtle cues or body language and stuff. there's a lot of stuff that goes on that we don't understand, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's the essence of it. It's like if you have heard that example of when you walk into a room and two people have just had like a big argument or a fight,
Oh,
you can
yeah.
feel it, right? Like
Yeah.
feel that tense sort of energy. And, you know, I mean, I don't know if you can measure that, you know, qualitatively or quantitatively with machines, but you can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because, they might be sitting there with their arms crossed. They might have a slight scowl on their face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just feels tense, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had it personally.
Oh,
but
yeah, you can feel it.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know. Us humans are pretty observant animals,
I
aren't we?
think so. Yeah, and even
Yeah.
if maybe you don't recognize it or you don't consciously understand what's going on, you can feel it somewhere, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think we're becoming, as a species, a lot more open to that type of thinking? A little bit less traditional and a little bit more open to the unknown and the mystery?
I'd say Western society specifically is probably getting a bit more considerative of less quantifiable things.
Mm.
So we're sort of being more accepting of one another without say I don't understand but I accept, or I don't feel how you feel but I accept you. I wouldn't say there's a huge change on the continuum of like getting to the other end of the spectrum we were just talking about. I don't know if I've sensed that. Have you sensed that?
Maybe it's just the people I'm hanging out with. They are a bit more open, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I guess you've got some people that are a bit more traditional. I think what does stick out to me, though, is when I do come across someone that's a bit more, I wouldn't say closed-minded, but maybe a bit more, I guess closed-minded. Traditional, you know, like a little bit less open to that type of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an interesting one, though.
It is.
'Cause I think it ties into all these subjects seem to be interrelated, you know, productivity, vibe, energy, like it all sort of tends to be interrelated.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
And if we want to get somewhere, if we want to do something that hasn't been done before, like building an electric motorcycle, like you know, you're going against the grain, like you're creating something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And so I think having all the odds stacked in your favor is helpful.
Agree. Because I'm no different to anyone else. I'm a normal dude with some passions, motorcycles, engineering, making cool stuff, helping people. I'm pretty simple. I've put in a lot of effort and time over the last few years to develop my skill set, mindset, and the environment that I'm in to allow me to push hard, accept challenges, do difficult things that, say, are outside the norm. Anyone could do it. A big thing is self-discipline, which is something that I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But I've made a lot of progress over the last few years. I think what you were saying about being around the right people is really important, because people say you're the average of the people that you spend your time with, but I would probably say you're the sum of the people you spend your time with, because you get the good and the bad, you know. You can pick and choose. Oh, I like what this person has to offer. I don't like that. I like this from this person. But at the end of the day, if you're immersed in a situation, you're going to pick up everything from everyone.
The good and the bad.
Right.
Yeah. Not just the average, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good spin
thanks.
on it. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it like that. But I guess for me, I've been paying attention to this for a while now. And I guess because I've been so conscientious about spending time with people that are positive, you know, they're doing something that I really admire and respect. It does strike me as quite a shock sometimes when I come across someone that's not in line with that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's a lot of negativity out there, eh?
Okay, I'm going to call you out on that one. So what do you mean by that?
There's a lot of people. Tall poppy syndrome in New Zealand is quite a big thing, isn't it?
It is a thing. Yeah. I'd like to think it's changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair. Yeah. Yeah, less so than it used to be. I still sometimes talk to people, and when I talk about the stuff that I'm doing or situations that I manage to put myself in, I don't believe in luck as much as good preparation meeting good timing. Luck to me is like picking up $20 on the ground or being born in our beautiful country.
Yeah.
But putting a lot of work in to get to a point to prepare yourself to take advantage of a situation, and then waiting a year and that situation happening and you jump on it, that's not luck. But say when I talk to some people about what I'm doing, you can just see a flash of jealousy across their face or a bit of negativity, or someone might say, oh, that'll never work. And my retort to that is, well, if this exact thing doesn't work, I don't care. I can pivot. I can move. I'm agile. Something will work, and I will make it work.
Yeah. Love it.
So I mean, I've encountered those people.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to me because I believe that those people out there, I give them absolutely zero time. And if someone's negative, then it just strikes me as a real, a super red flag. It's not to say I'm perfect or like positive all the time, but I think especially someone that's willing to critique or be negative on something that you're doing, that just, it strikes me as a real person to avoid.
I'd like to respectfully challenge that.
Okay.
So I try and seek out people that have the opposite opinion to me or different opinions to me, because someone's opinion of me or a situation isn't going to affect me. I don't care, as I said, if someone doesn't believe in me or what I'm doing, or a friend or etc. But I want to know why.
That's a good point.
So if someone comes to me and they say, I don't like what you're doing, or what you're doing will never work, I'm not going to take that personally. I'm going to say, oh, why is that? Have you got a justification there? And they might say something that I haven't considered.
They might be valuable.
They might be right.
Yeah.
So if I just shut them down, I'm never going to learn. That I lose that opportunity. So I try and give people the benefit of the doubt. After asking that question, I can make a judgment on their reasons.
Yes.
That's the key thing.
That's good.
Yeah. So if someone says, I don't like what you're doing, and I say, how come? And they say, oh, I just don't like it. Have you got a justification? No. Well, okay.
Yeah, that'll give you some insight into
that's
the quality
when I
of
stop
that.
listening, right?
Yeah, that's right, yes. Whereas there could be some hugely valuable discovery of the unknown, which I'm a big fan of.
I love being told no.
Because by default, we can't see our own blind spots.
No way.
So therefore, there could be value. That's good. It's good insight. Yeah, I guess when I was thinking of negativity, I was thinking more along lines of like online trolls or people in the Facebook comments.
Yeah. 100%.
Whereas I don't know if there's any productivity there, or I think that's more of a representation of who they are, what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And maybe some of their issues.
You're 100% right. I don't give any credence to comments online or where someone's sitting probably in bed on their laptop and going, oh, I don't like this person, and it's a projection of their own insecurities about themselves.
Totally.
Or,
it's such an interesting one, isn't it? Like feedback. I was thinking about like the example of a restaurant if something wasn't that great and they ask you how everything was. It's pretty hard to like give honest feedback, right?
Yeah. Why is that?
Because I think as a species, we don't want to be disliked. We don't want to cause conflict. We don't want to be, we just don't. It's just easier, right? It's the path of least resistance. That's why, I think communication and feedback and insight is like really interesting to me. It's just a question of how you go about getting it.
Agree.
Whether it's through like survey or feedback forms or just asking better questions.
Yeah.
Like I guess going to the restaurant example, the easy way for a person to ask would be like, was everything good tonight? Whereas if they said, how did you like the steak? Was the steak cooked okay? Or what rating would you give that? There's these subtle ways that you can ask in a way that's not really combative or eliciting the tried and true answer.
Agree. And as the restaurant patron as well, on the side of giving the feedback, there are ways to speak and structure feedback such that you don't feel as bad. Because myself, by nature, I'm conflict avoidant.
Same.
Yeah, most people are, right?
Most people are, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm learning ways of giving feedback in a constructive way, or structuring feedback such that you don't get someone's hackles up.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from internal confidence, right? Like we talked about insecurities before. If someone's insecure and vulnerable and wanting to vent or to be negative for whatever other reason, that's quite the opposite of someone's like super confident, able to articulate themselves well. That person's probably more likely to give actionable, real feedback, right?
Agree. Yeah, sort of a reflection of your self-confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes though, when go back to the restaurant example, but it's the easiest. A lot of the time they don't actually want the answer. It's like someone that's like, hey, how's it going? It's like, do you actually care?
Yeah.
Like,
Good.
is this just a filler? Is this a filler word? I think it's a filler sentence, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to be aware of too.
Yeah. Yeah, agree.
But I think the world would be a better place though if we're all constantly iterating better, right?
Agree. Yeah. I think regarding the comment of like, how are you? The world definitely is changing in the regard of, in the, say, mental health space, consideration for others' mental health, consideration for one's mental health. And this is something that I think about a lot as a startup founder, because it's hard, it takes a lot out of you. And I find that when I reach out to friends to say, or colleagues or whatever, to say, hey, I'm having a hard time, or I'm sort of, oh man, this sucks. People are pretty receptive and say, you know, that's normal, take some time off, etc. Definitely a big fan of that direction we're going.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think that is the sort of side effect of doing things that are different, right? Is that there is a cost, there is a mental drain, and there is like ups and downs. There's a roller coaster of emotions, and there's high highs and there's low lows, right?
Yeah.
And it's the opposite of just showing up to somewhere each day and collecting a paycheck. It may have its stresses, but I think when you're trying to create change, it's definitely got a cost associated with it.
Agree. Yeah. And it all comes down to the people you surround yourself. Again.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with the right people, and they can
totally
call you out when you're not treating yourself right, or be a good soundboard when you say, hey, I'm thinking about taking a week off, or I need a bit of space to just decompress.
Figure my stuff out, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one reason for those lunches that I've been doing, is that it's
that's cool.
It's an environment that is generally people that are doing something. They're trying to grow, or they're doing something. You know, they're either running businesses, or they're creating something, or they're wanting to get around people that are in similar positions, and hopefully can be somewhat vulnerable, and I mean, maybe not vulnerable, but just real, right? Like just have some real chat. You know, if it was a bad day, then call it a bad day, right? Yeah.
So you have speakers at those events, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. It's a relatively new addition, the speakers, but I've introduced a speaker/sponsorship slot. So the speaker will chat for a little bit at the beginning, 5-10 minutes or so. It's not the most conducive environment for presenting and consuming information, so it's pretty brief, but it's really just designed to give them a bit of a platform, bit of a voice to share what they're up to. And that sort of transcends into these events that I've been doing, the breakfast ones, where it's more of a sit down education orientated event, not so much networking, more about learning and sharing knowledge.
Cool. Have you got a lot out of those events yourself?
The lunches I have somewhat. I just like it. I'm about to rejig it slightly so that it is maybe a more accurate reward for the time and energy that goes into it, but I've enjoyed it, and it's sort of shown me what events can do and what they can create, and it's really satisfying to see people that are strangers at the beginning of it and then connecting afterwards, and then either doing business or hanging out together. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And I think like in the event space locally, you've got networking groups, you've got industry stuff, you've got sports stuff, you've got certain areas that are somewhat social, bars, gyms, clubs, etc. But I like the idea that these events can bring together people that are somewhat like-minded, and it's been an interesting journey, but we'll see where it goes.
Must be pretty rewarding to sort of make some of those connections in others, because one's network is so important,
Totally.
Especially in the business space.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is that there are people of all ages and stages of their careers in their life.
Yep.
And so you've got like a cohort of younger people, then you've got maybe more experienced senior people that are, I guess, not consciously networking or not consciously getting outside of their day-to-day. And so it's really cool that a few of those guys have come along and just had like brought a good energy and just like keen to meet people, and I wouldn't say like add value, but definitely be there, be there, show up and be present, and be willing to meet and shake hands. So that's pretty cool.
Add to the vibe.
Yeah, you'll see yourself like what the next one's like, but it's a real work in progress, we'll see where it goes. It'll be interesting, reviewing this back in a year's time to see where they both are, both the breakfast and the lunch events.
Absolutely.
I've also got a larger one planned for October. So it'll be more of like an evening event with a panel of speakers.
Oh, cool.
So
wow.
Yeah, they could be cool.
Yeah.
Could be a goer.
Yeah. Send me a link.
Yeah. It'll be released soon. This is actually good accountability. So this will
here we go.
There we go. Accidental accountability. Oops. But yeah, that's something on the horizon. I just thought that it'd be cool to merge both of those concepts, learning and networking. Yeah. In a larger, more structured environment.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Well, that's good. Very good.
Yeah. Accountability. That's a big word.
It is indeed. Yeah, it really is. I think even the most hardcore business owner, individual, I think they all need it. Yeah. I think we're all guilty at times of taking that path of least resistance.
Yeah. How do we become more accountable?
Well, I think one way is just to hang out with people that are doing wild, crazy, dangerous stuff. Like people that are stretching their bounds. It just rubs off. I was at the gym the other day, and the chat about the cold plunge came up.
Oh, love that!
And that just it just inspired me and like motivated me to actually buck up and get back in there, right?
Yeah. Do you do much cold stuff?
Yeah, I haven't for the last couple of weeks, but I generally do
True.
do it. But yeah,
Nice.
it's just it's just something that I consciously make an effort to do the hard thing.
Yeah.
It's really easy not to, and I just do it out of no other reason than just to do something that's hard. This 75 hard challenge at the moment is something similar to that as well. It's it's just been a bit of a process this time around. 75 days of a certain criteria.
Yeah. Someone mentioned that today to me as well. 75 hard. I'm going to have a look at it now.
Yeah, I think it's something that everyone should consider. Yeah.
It's
not for everyone, but I have personally found huge benefit from doing it. I've done it before, and this time doing it with my partner Emily, and we're going through it together, which is quite cool.
Yeah. Sucking together.
Man. Collectively sucking. Yeah. It's just an interesting one, how on paper it doesn't seem overly difficult, but when you're in it and day in, day out, combined with other external factors, so either work or family or weather or whatever comes your way, I think that's when it gets hard.
Yeah. And that's a trap a lot of people fall into when you say make a commitment, especially over time, even the course of a week or 2 weeks, where you might overcommit because you think, well, in a perfect world, I could get this much work done in this period of time. but then your car battery goes flat. Or
Exactly.
someone in your family or friends has a medical event or something goes wrong. And now you're not going to hit your targets or your goals. You might disappoint people.
Mm-hmm.
Meaningful progress over time. That's high performance, high performing gradual progress is hard over a long period of time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that's when you've got to just either have the right people around you, gamify it, put accountability measures in place, have that end point so like appealing, sexy, exhilarating that it will keep you going, right? It'll keep pulling you in the right direction.
Agree.
Especially when the days are long and things aren't going to plan.
I find that doing something hard every day helps me to continue to do hard stuff as well. Like
I agree.
You mentioned the cold plunges. For over a year now, I have a shower, nice hot shower. And then at the end of the hot shower, I turn the water cold.
Yeah, I love it.
Dead cold for 1 minute.
So good.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
And it sucks every single time. Especially these, like, we're in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's no good.
Yeah, I know.
I do it every day because doing that hard thing once a day, it doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And it's related to something I do every day anyway.
Love it.
It sucks. And
so good.
And I get over it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I've gone through phases of doing that as well. And it's funny, certain showers, like you kind of get used to your own shower, but my dad's place on the West Coast, for example, like the cold over there, it's just a combination of, I think the water's colder for sure, but the pressure, it's the pressure that gets you. Like you flip it to cold and it's like blows you back.
Yeah.
And it's like,
dude, that's my shower at home.
All right.
It's high flow.
It's a beast.
It's an absolute beast. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
classic.
Yeah. I was overseas recently, and the showers in the hotels and stuff, they just sucked. And the water wasn't actually that cold.
Right. Gotcha.
And I got home and I had my cold shower and went,
whoa,
man, this is so good.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exceptional. Very good. Well, thank you, Charlie. It's been so good chatting. Yeah. This has been good. I would love to do an anniversary episode on this one. This is good.
Yeah.
This is gonna be some serious update. 2025.
Keen.
Any final thoughts? Quotes? Wisdom? Pressure.
Put me on the spot. I'd say if you want to do, speaking to anyone that wants to do something, if you want to do it, just do it. If you get something wrong, doesn't matter. Just try something else. Keep going. Listen to the right people. Put yourself in the right situations. You can do it.
Love it. And get involved in the cold shower.
Yeah, cold showers, 100%.
Just do it for a week, right? Like literally just do a minute.
Yeah.
Just don't even do a minute. Like just literally turn it to cold. That's all you got to do, right?
It was Ethan Gerrard that put me on those, actually.
Oh, is it? Oh, really? There you go.
Mutual connection.
Yeah, there you go. Is he into it, is he?
Oh, he used to do like full cold showers.
Right.
And I tried that, but it wasn't for me. I didn't feel like I got clean.
That's pretty savage, right?
Yeah.
The full cold. Yeah.
He's a savage.
Yeah.
He knows he is.
I like it.
Yeah. But I found something that works for me.
Yeah, nice.
Just.
That's good. Good ending thought. Very good. Thank you for your time. We'll see you back in the next one.